Hello guys, welcome back to my second World of Tanks review, and today we're going to be looking at the Waffenträger E100. This tank has caused quite a lot of controversy in the World of Tanks community. People who don't have it seem to think it's horrifically overpowered, people who do have it seem to think it's horrifically overpowered as well. So before we kick off, I'll talk about the line, and then I'll kind of get a bit more into the tank. So, the line is kind of funny. This is actually an extremely good line to grind. Most lines kind of have a bit of a lemon in them, you know, like a tank that you really don't want to play. This one is pretty good. The only tank that really struggles in this line is this one. Mostly because the stock gun on this tier 7 tank destroyer is pretty poor. On the tier 7, it's this tank is very slow, has no armor at all, and its camo rating is okay but not fantastic. And 169 pen on a tier 7 tank destroyer is pretty bad. However, as soon as you get past that and you get this gun, 490 average damage on a tier 7 tank destroyer, it sort of becomes the ISU. The ISU of tier 7, really, because that's monstrous. The gun depression on this tank is also absolutely insane. You can really look almost right down at your tracks, so it's definitely got that working for it. So it's not all bad with this tank. And honestly, looking back at the line again, the Nassaul's gun is obscene. It basically gets an upgraded version of the Tiger's gun at tier 6. Already talked about the tier 7. The Rheinmetall Borsig got obscene camo rating, and as a stock gun, basically gets the Ferdinand's gun. I actually use the stock gun over this gun, mostly because 215 pen is kind of horrific, and you really need to use gold, and gold is heat. And heat can be a little dodgy sometimes, firing at range. So I just use this stock gun with the Borsig all the way through. The Panzer IV, similar playstyle to the Borsig, no armor, good camo, but just gets a bit. This is a little bit quicker. It does have a rear-mounted turret, which does take some getting used to, but I actually preferred this over the Borsig. Just because it's got a bit more speed on it, and you can kind of rock backwards and forwards out of cover. You're not completely reliant on your camo. And again, this gun is just an absolute beast. This entire line really is absolutely huge. And then it ends up with the Waffenträger. Now, I was talking about the E50M yesterday, and I was saying how the playstyle from tier 7 is very similar to 8, 9 and 10. You know, the tanks get more versatile as they go up, but you kind of learn how to play the tier 10 on the tier 7. This line is completely different. The tier 8 and the tier 9 are small, badly armoured, extremely tanks with extremely good camouflage. Then you get to this, and it's massive, way bigger than the tanks before it. It's still got really bad armor, but it has no camouflage. And when I say no camouflage, when it's stationary, it has 0.4% camouflage, which is the worst camo rating in the game for any tank. A mouse has 1.4% camouflage. This has 0.4%. Just to put that really into perspective. If you lined up all the tanks in the game in a row and sent out a bat chat to very slowly drive forward, this would be spotted before every other tank. Not much, but it's still there. So just think about that for a moment. The way that view range works, very quickly for those of you that don't know, is that each tank has a base view range. On this it's 420 meters. And so essentially this tank looks around. Let's assume that there's been no other modifying stats, so you can get situational awareness, you can get optics, but let's just assume for a moment that there's no modifying stats. So this tank is constantly looking 420 meters around it. The there is a difference to how often it looks around it based on how far away it is. So I believe from 400 meters it updates every second and a half. From 250 it's every 0.5 seconds. I don't know exactly, but that's a very rough estimate. And which is why, by the way, sometimes you will see if a tank's right on the edge of your view range, it will look like it's lagging sometimes, because it will kind of jolt along. It look like it's, you know, having connection issues, because it's kind of almost rubber banding. Anyway, so you will constantly look 420 meters around you. Now, let's say there's a tank with 10% camo rating. It will take 10% of your view range away when you're looking at that tank. So let's say there's a tank with 10% camo rating and I'm trying to look at it, and I've got 420 meters view range. If it's 400 meters away, I won't see it. Now this can be modified, obviously, by if the tank has the camo skill on its crew, if it's using a camo net, if it's behind a bush, if it's fired recently, because that further reduces its camo. If it's moving, that doesn't apply to light tanks. Honestly, it's a bit. I'm not here to explain what view distance is, you know, and go through everything about it. But the reason why I'm saying is the way to play this tank is to abuse view distance. And I'll go into that in just a minute after I've been through the rest. So, 2,000 hit points. Solid amount of hit points for a tank destroyer. It's using the E100 hull, which is why it's so huge. Very heavy, 100 tons. Pretty big. Some people can use a super heavy spool liner, which is going to make it even heavier. I personally wouldn't advise it, but that's just my preference. 1200 horsepower engine means that this thing can actually shift. I mean, if you've ever played the E100 or anything like that, then they're not painfully slow. They're not T95 slow, but they're not quick tanks. The reason why I don't like using a heavy spool liner on this is because one of the main assets to this tank is its speed. It's really not a slow tank, and you'll see that a bit later on. Traverse speed is 26, and the turret traverse is 22, giving it a total traverse of 48. So you can actually spin this tank around relatively quick. It did get nerfed quite a lot recently, which was really needed because not much stuff could circle you. But having said that, that's still a pretty respectable rate of traverse. The hull armor: 200 at the front, 120 at the side, and 50 at the back. That's pretty good. It's an E100 hull. However, the turret armor is 20 at the front, 10 at the side, and 8 at the back. If you guys don't know already, if you're going to shoot this thing, just shoot the turret, for the love of God. I mean, you're going to go through, really. One thing when I'm playing this thing that really annoys me is that people shoot at my turret so much that my gun gets blown out really quite often, which is quite frustrating. I think so much so that I've even taken armor. So yeah, but anyway, shoot it in the turret, guys, right in the turret. Okay, let's look at the guns. I know it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Here we go. So this tank comes with a choice of 2 guns. A 128, again, big difference from the tanks before is it gets an autoloader. It's like, oh sick, an autoloader, okay. Both have huge reload times, 1 minute and 50 seconds, which means that you really have to know. I mean, if coming up this line, if you haven't played an autoloader before, once you get to tier 10, you're a bit like, oh god, okay, when's a good time to reload? What do I do? You know, and when you're at tier 10, that's not the time when you want to be learning stuff like when do I choose my minute reload, you know? So this can be a bit of a shock when you get there. Anyway, we'll go through this gun first. 150 calibers, 4 shells in the magazine. This 3 seconds between each shell loading. So this means that once you've within your clip, you'll fire a shell, and it will take 3 seconds for you to be able to fire the next shell. 50-second reload time, as I've said. 235 pen. That is not great. It's still quite accurate, but the range that you're going to want to be shooting stuff on this tank, you really don't want to rely on 235 pen. And the premium is heat. So it's up to you guys. I mean, if I'm going to be firing at anything at tier 9 or 10, I really want more than 235, because this tank, it's got 2 defences, okay? Its armour's irrelevant completely to anyone who knows what they're doing, because they will just shoot your turret, which can be seen like a flashing beacon across the map, and its speed. Its camo is so bad it makes me sad. It's balanced though, before anyone has a go at me for that. It really needs the poor camo. So yeah, its gun and its speed are the 2 things that keep this tank alive. And when I say someone might say, why is a gun a defense? Because it can annihilate stuff before it can shoot at it, and you'll see that later on in the video that I'm going to show you, which is my mastery replay, so you guys will enjoy that. So anyway, the heat ammo is dodgy at the best of times, even when you do hit. 750 damage though, pretty monstrous. Means there's 3,000 damage in this clip if you can hit all your shots. Pretty stupid. 0.34 accuracy, 1.9 aiming time, which is ridiculous. If you're going to be firing gold all the time, this is an extremely good gun. You can see from the stats, it's just dumb. It's got a slightly lower reload time than the other one. I have to say, I've only ever used this gun twice, because let's bring out the beast. 128, 6 shells in the magazine, 2 seconds between each shell, which means that you can unload this thing in 12 seconds. Okay, which means that if you look at tanks like the IS-7, for example, it will be able to shoot you once, and then you can kill it while it's reloading. And when I say you can kill it while it's reloading, 4 of your shells will kill an IS-7. Okay, and you've got 6 in the magazine. Just kind of, again, just think about that. 60-second reload time, longer than the other gun, but you've got a far more devastating magazine. 3,300 damage in this clip in total, which is really huge. 276 standard pen on this, much better. The other thing that's also really good is it gets APCR, not heat. And we don't like heat here, we're not huge fans of heat. So when you do need that gold, which I'm ashamed to say I use gold ammo more than I probably should on this tank, just because I'm so terrified of trying to hit something at 400 meters and just having stuff bounce, because you don't want to fire 6 shells at something, have 3 of them bounce, and then sit there with a minute reload with your thumb in your mouth. You know, that's just not, it's not cool. 560 average damage, pretty standard. 0.29 aiming time, which on paper makes it the most accurate gun in the game. Now, I reviewed the E50M yesterday, which has a 0.3 accuracy gun, and I find the E50M's gun more reliable. I don't know if it's because I'm normally shooting stuff at a closer range than the E50M, in the E50M, but I tend to find that the shells do kind of go all over the place. I still think that I've been talking to some people for quite a long time about this. I'm almost positive there's some sort of hidden accuracy stat that affects dispersion in a different way than you see here. But anyway, that's, you know, conspiracy theories can be saved for another time. 1.5 aiming time. Again, just completely obscene. It's a complete monster. It really is. It pretty much makes this the best gun in the game for anything. There's not much more I can say, you know. Even more so because it can use APCR on gold. Just an absolute monster gun. And you'll really see what it can do later on. View range 420, very, very good, by the way. 420 view range is huge. Normally reserved for tanks proficient in scouting, but this tank really does need it as well. 720 signal range. The crew skills. So on this line all the way up, I was using camouflage. Didn't bother taking repairs because on the tier 8, well, in fact on the tier 6, 7, 8 and 9, if you were seen, you were kind of in a bad way anyway. And also the tier 8 and to some extent the tier 9 did take quite a lot of module damage. It's probably because they're using wet tissue paper for armour. Yeah, and don't get hit by RT guys in any of these tanks because it does not end well for you. I'll tell you that much. Anyway, I took BIA, obviously 6 cents at the start. Then I took BIA because you really want to get that clip reload down as much as you can. 5% off 60 seconds is a big difference. Again, I used to have camo. I took repairs, kind of at a loss of what else to take. The way that your camo skill works is that it's based off of your current it's based off of your tank's base camo. So, you know, putting camo on this, you know, an increase of 0.4% is still nothing, you know. So the more your base camo rating, the more camo affects it. I then took specific skills. So I took armourer. I didn't take snapshot because this gun has obscene aiming time already. Didn't think it was needed. Off-road driving, just to, you know, make it that little bit better as it goes across, well, off-road parts. But again, as I said earlier, speed really and the manoeuvrability is really what saves this tank sometimes. Situational awareness for that increased view range. Safe stowage because why not? And I just threw camouflage on the end because this thing has 2 loaders. I'm not a huge fan of adrenaline rush. I think that yeah, I just think adrenaline rush is just pretty poor, really. My opinion. Now you might be looking at this going, what the hell are you doing? You know, where's your rammer, or where's your vert stab, or where's your vents? Well, I'll tell you. Because it's an autoloader, it can't fit a rammer. It can't fit vertical stabilizers, and even if it could, it's got a 1.5 aiming time, so you really don't need it that much. And because it's an open top tank, believe it or not, it can't fit vents. So, what do you put on this thing? Well, super heavy spool liner. Honestly, that really helps with shots from artillery, and I've had people tell me to use super heavy spool liners, but I just think it slows me down way too much. I really think that having the increased speed on the tank really makes up for yeah, just really makes up for it, honestly. I don't like being slower than I am already. The enhanced washers, no. Don't really get ammo racked in this thing. I was actually using the toolbox for a while, just because, hey, faster I can repair my track, you know. But again, I took it out because meh. Fuel tanks don't get hit. Again, I don't really feel the need. 1.5 seconds, 10% of 1.5, you know, is 0.15. That's nothing really. So I took optics because I'm a huge fan of view range, and in this tank, you know, more than anything else, I think that, you know, it really helps, because if you can, I mean, most of the time stuff is going to see you before you see it, and when I say most of the time, I mean pretty much all of the time. But the further, as much as you can negate that, you know, the better it's going to be. I took the camo net. The camouflage net camo isn't based off of your tank's base camo rating. It gives you a flat camo bonus. Okay, so yeah, I don't actually know what it is. I should really know, and this is not really going to be particularly useful to you guys, but because it isn't based off of your base camo rating, it means it actually makes a fair amount of difference. And then I took binoculars because it kind of goes hand in hand with the camo net, although I don't really sit still in that tank all that much. But really, I'm just kind of at a loss of what else to use. I mean, I think that's pointless. The only other point to me would be using the super heavy spool liner, and I tried it, didn't like it, I have to say. Equipment, pretty standard. In Clan Wars, I will always use chocolate, anything to get that reload time down. I take again, I use quite a lot of gold in this thing. Now I do actually use this. Normally, actually, I'm not quite sure why it's like. Oh, it's because this is what my clan was loadout. Normally, I tend to use that 30 to 30. Just pretty much because, again, like I don't want my shots to bounce. And people can say, oh, just aim for weak spots. You know, the 270 pen's enough. I agree, it is. However, when you're aiming at weak spots at 400 meters, sometimes there ain't much you can do, and there's nothing more sad than having shots bounce in this tank when you really know they should have hit. So I'm just trying to negate that as much as possible, because yeah, I mean, if you fire shots and so many of your shots bounce that you don't kill a tank, you've now got 60 seconds and all you can do is run away from it, you know. But hey, call me a noob, that's what I'm like. I did actually do it. This is currently my Clan Wars loadout, which I switched the chocolate out a second ago. And I was using something where the octane gas, but normally fire extinguisher. This is, by the way, still an E100 hull, so if stuff shoots you here, you will get set on fire sometimes. So fire extinguisher is kind of important. Repair kit, and I don't notice my crew getting killed that much in this thing unless I get hit by arty. So, but having said that, I'd still take the first aid kit. Right, how does this tank play? Okay, so you either want to play this in two ways, or really you want to switch between these two playstyles. And again, this isn't taught on the line up to this tank at all, so you really need to work this out at top tier yourself. First of all, what you want to do is you want to abuse the rendering distance compared to their view distance. Now what that means is that every tank in the game can only see other tanks 500 meters away. Now, because of your bad camo, most tanks will be able to spot you. If it's a tier 10 heavy tank, they'll be able to see you 400 meters away pretty much every time. If it's a scout, it'll be 440, 450 most of the time. So really what you want to do is you want to stay between, depending on what the tank is obviously, if it's a heavy, you want to stay between 400 and 500 meters away, because that's a blind spot. They can't see you, but you can see it. So someone else has to have seen them for you, by the way. So you really need to watch where your scouts are and make use of them. So you want to stay outside of their view range, but still within a range where you can see their tank. It's much more tricky with mediums, because at tier 10 they normally have optics. So you want to stay between 450 and 500 meters. And you pretty much just want to abuse that blind spot as much as you can. Now, this is not possible on every single map. You might look at me and say, Darker, how do I abuse view distance on Ensk, on Himmelsdorf? Well, you don't. And this is where the other type of playstyle comes in, which is the shock trooper YOLO hashtag drive round the corner and unload into someone's face playstyle, which is terrifyingly effective in this tank, by the way, because you've got 3.3k damage in your clip and enough penetration to pen any tank in the game. So, and it really surprises people, because they think, oh, he's got no armor, he's not going to risk a head-on confrontation, and then you sort of YOLO around the corner and just, you know, blast them in the face repeatedly. And normally they, first of all, they shit themselves, and then they try and run away. If it's a non-experienced player, he's going to be in tears. So again, you've just got all the freedom just to kill him. If they get a shot into you, it will only be one most of the time. And okay, you get hit for 400 damage out of 2,000, and you just wipe their tank off the map with like 3 or 4 shells normally. So yeah, fair trade. So that's really the two different ways you play this tank. And quite luckily, in the Mastery replay, which I'm about to show you, you see me use both of them in the same game. Yes. As to how I feel this tank, is it overpowered or not? It's really difficult to say. In certain situations, God yes. In other situations, God no. Certain maps, like Live Oaks, for example, in a tier 10 game, you get spotted anywhere. So, I mean, if you think about Live Oaks, okay, you can go south down the railway line to the kind of gun depression-y bit. You don't want to be peeking over a hill in this with a a turret that size and 20 armor on the front, just don't do it. It's not going to end well. And also, the south is really easy to arty, so the south is not a great place for this tank. If you go into the city, you're not that you're not slow, but you're not fast, and you will get spotted by their scouts so long before you get anywhere near the city. And also, you are the favourite tank for people to shoot at, because they know it doesn't matter if they're a scout. If someone has brought Armada 2 into the battle by mistake with their friends, it's still going to pen you, you know. So people just see these things and they're like, oh yeah, I can just aim at the turret and pen that. I don't even have to really aim for weak spots, so just fire at it and it's going to go in. So again, trying to go into the town on live oaks, as you're crossing into it, you're going to get slapped multiple times. So yeah, certain maps, this thing is kind of weird. Other maps though, like Malinovka, you can just camp in a bush and do obscene damage. My mastery replays on Fisherman's Bay, and there are some really obvious tank destroyer spots there that you'll see me use. But yeah, anyway, here comes the replay. Now brace yourselves, because it's a really good one. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The Waffenträger E100 replay. I'm platooning up with a friend of mine called Brown Wolf. Big shout out to him in his cheeky 75. And I am obviously in the Beast. Now, pretty good game for me here actually. Although there are a lot of scary tank destroyers on the other team. So again, before we do anything else, let's assess the teams. Pretty good smattering of good spread, although they do have more tier 10 tank destroyers than us. Now this is pre tier 10 tank destroyer nerf, not that it really affects any tanks on their team so much. I would say they have an edge, honestly. This map, tier 10 tank destroyers are very effective because it's the same size as other maps, but it feels smaller. Very long sight lines. And there's a town which really only benefits stuff like the Jagdpanzer E100 even more, and the Waffenträger E100. They've got E35s and IS-8. I mean, you know, there's no clear advantage, but you know, I still think they have the edge. Also, their top tanks are all platooned, and yeah, not much to say about that really. So you know, it could be worse. Okay, as usual, we've got to think about where we're going to go. So if I just pause it again. Looking at the teams, as one of the top tier 10 tank destroyers, I really don't have much choice. I need to go here. I need to look down this sight line. I need to be one of the people stopping them coming down here, because nothing else is going to. The Jagdpanzer might, but he's also got pretty good cause to go into the town. So yeah. And also, I will probably be meeting 4 of their tier 10 tank destroyers over on that side of the map as well. Maybe, maybe not, but it's still pretty likely. And again, as I said before, it's not about where your team should go, it's about where your team does go. So we'll review that in a second. Although having said that, I think even if they do, everyone does pile onto A1. You know, really, you still need to be over there, quite honestly. So yeah, here we go. Let's see what happens. Now this is the kind of speed I was talking about. 20 miles an hour, going uphill, on not a great surface. 24, 25. Do you see what I mean? This is not. It's don't get me wrong. It ain't fast, but it's not really crushingly slow. 30 miles an hour going downhill. It's not bad, you know. It really isn't too bad at all. Kind of keeping pace with this T54E1 pretty nicely. But yeah, anyway, started loading a gold clip, pretty much because normally the first clip you fire is really important. Oh, by the way, I have blocked out the chat in this game. There's a lot of rage, a lot of anti-Semitic stuff going on. I didn't really want to have to expose you guys to that. If you want to be exposed to that, just go play a game of World of Tanks. There's quite a lot of that going on. Anyway, so here you can kind of see me really making use of the view range. Now, if you can see on my map here, this circle here, I'm using a mod called XVM, and that's my view range. which is 420. So nothing should really be able to spot me up till about here. And I'm also behind trees and stuff at the moment. So I position myself over here, nicely behind this tree to increase my camo rating. And the waiting game begins. I move forward and just chill out basically. You've got the Centurion and the IS-7 just here, who are going to light stuff up for me. Maybe the Conqueror will as well. I angle my tank slightly so that if I get spotted I can reverse behind the building. But also I'm angled in such a way that if anything fires at me it might bounce off my hull. There we go. The Waffenträger has just popped up. Now this is what I was talking about earlier. I can just about see him. He's right at the edge of my draw distance. So I'm used to that. I roll forward, fire a shell at him, fire another shell at him. Don't know if that hit or not. I would assume it would. I don't think he would have got out of the way that quick. 4 shells left in my clip. I roll forward a bit more because I don't think they're going to be spotting me from this distance. And here we go. We got a spot on this guy. Now, I slowed it down a bit. That was not a good shot by me. I did aim for the track anyway, but we got there. And here you can see the accuracy of that gun really start to work. But again, this is 460 meters away. It's not always going to come off. And I just put my last shell at him. Now, that was kind of a wasted clip, but what I did want to do is stop him pushing on our Centurion. In hindsight, that I should have waited. As you can see, I got 500 damage off in that entire clip. That was not great. And because I've done that, I've kind of put our guys down here in a bad position because I can no longer provide fire support. However, what I wanted to do was scare there was a 183 over there, I believe. Yep. The Jagdpanzer and the Waffenträger. 3 of their tier 10 tank destroyers are over there. We have 1 tier 10 over here, period. Let's not even think about, you know, the E75s and other terrifying stuff they've got. So I really just wanted to scare them as much as possible. It kind of worked. It kind of made them back off a little bit. But I could have held my shots for more obvious shots, but kind of up in the air. Honestly, if I had done this battle again, I would have held them, quite honestly. But what can you do? Mistakes have been made. Here you see this really brutal reload time. So here I just basically have to sit and watch my team get minced. I think with my skills, my reload time is... I think it's about 48 seconds-ish. Which is about the same loading time as the gun carriage, ironically. But really, you know, you just have to sit here. And you can't see, but I'm typing in a chat. I'm letting them know how long I've got till my clip's reloaded. So I just type 15 seconds, 10, 5, and here we go. Slow it down a little bit again. IS-8. 1. Finish him off. E75. 2. Aim at the side of his turret. There he goes. Just took out 2 tanks in the space of about 6 seconds. Got 3 shots left in my clip. Normally, when something knows you're oh, here we go. There's the Star Destroyer. And down he goes as well. 3 kills in 1 clip. And I've done 3,000 damage. Yes, this is not a weak tank. This situation, it doesn't get any better than this, really. That was also a standard clip, not gold, by the way. But sadly, I'm clipping, and the IS-7 is in a world of trouble. I was praying he could bounce, but he didn't. So now there's an E75, Jagdpanzer E100, there's a T-54 E1 that's probably going to be joining them. Right here, I ask, I'm almost loaded. So here I'm saying in the chat to the 2 guys next to me, can you guys spot them? Like, I don't want them to suicide, but I'd like them to light them up, because if they can light them up, I can knock them down, you know. Sadly, he doesn't. He just sits there. I don't know why I expect pubs to do... I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I can't expect them to read my mind, but some things I think are obvious to me that other people don't understand. So It happens. End of the day. But if I was in this position, I would be spotting for the Waffenträger. Anyway, here comes the E75. And here we go. Round the corner we go. T-54E1 as well. He's got an autoloader, so I aim at him first. 1 shot. 2 shots. 3 shots. Aim for its lower plate. 4. Set him on fire. 5. 5,400 damage. Again, looks really overpowered, and kind of is, but when you can come around the corner on 2 tanks, I mean, you could see they didn't even fire at me, and they knew I was there. They both just freaked out, and I don't really blame them, you know. So when you come round on tanks like that, they're a tier below you, and even though the E75 has got pretty good armour, yeah, you know, it's just, yeah, you kind of feel sorry for them, but what can you do? Let's just evaluate the map. Now, I've, again, not to blow my own horn too much, pretty much held this flank on my own. I took out the Star Destroyer, I took out the IS-8, took out the E-75, took out the T-54E1. I put a couple of rounds into this guy and probably a few rounds into that guy as well. Looking across the map, could be going better, although the town isn't lost quite yet. I figure I need to stay on this flank right now, but because there might still be stuff coming down. And again, don't be this guy, guys. Just, he's not doing anything. You know, if anything comes down, it's going to come down this line. It's not going to be coming through the middle. He's a heavy tank, a tier 9 heavy tank, and that tank's built for side scraping. He should be in the town helping, but he isn't. He's just sitting there. You know, it's just, always think about how useful your current position is. You know, what are you achieving where you are? I am defending the 1 line. He is doing nothing. Anyway, I'll stop bad-mouthing other players. So at this point I decide to move. I don't think the Jagdpanzer or the Waffenträger are going to be coming down this flank. And they also know, everything knows where I am. Anyone who's watching the map knows that I am in that corner. So the best way to alleviate that is always be where people don't expect you to be. So with that in mind, I roll out. Now, is this dangerous? At this point in the game, no. Earlier, yes. I'm pretty sure the other 2 tank destroyers, I mean, they could have moved up to the town here. They could be in here, but I wouldn't have thought so. I would have thought they'd still be chilling out at the back somewhere. So I mosey my way on into the town, mostly because it's losing, and I really need to back up. You know, there was nothing happening on the 1 line. It was all happening in the town. I needed to go and do something about that. Notice this guy has now decided to follow me. If there was ever a time for him to sit there, this would be that time, but now he's decided to be the hero. T-30 gets spotted, moving in. Okay. 5 kills, 5,400 damage currently. IS-4 takes a swing at the T-30. I thought he might be in line of sight, so I stop. Aha! IS-4 spotted the VKB. And to his rescue I come. 1 round into the side, quickly aim up at his turret. 6 kills, 6,300 damage. Got 4 shots left in my clip. Obviously don't want to reload because there's still tanks around. Now's the time to play aggressive. It's the last thing they'll be expecting. Sadly, the IS-4 goes down. The RT takes a swipe at me. Get off the map, you cheeky bastard. Keep driving. 7 kills, 6,700 damage. Sadly, they now know I'm coming this way. I don't know if that Waffenträger's clipping or not, but I'm just going to run at him, and that tells me right there that he isn't. He should have got 3 damage on me. And now it's time for drive around the house like a maniac. See, now I went around that the wrong way. See, you can see, and I saw him, that's the way so he reversed around the side of this building, right? Now, if I would have gone up this side here, he would have to reverse around this corner, and he's obviously slower going backwards than he is forwards, so I could have driven up here and shot him in the face. I didn't want to do that because there are still 2 tank destroyers on the map that aren't spotted, and going out there would expose me immediately. Turns out that I have to start doing that anyway, so I think, okay, he's going to drive around, sod it, like, me taking a hit is worth me killing this guy. But because he can drive forward here, he just drives around the building. So that was just my poor play. So here we go, we play ring around the building with this guy for a little bit. That RT, by the way, absolute beast. He does really well throughout this entire game. And when I do a cheeky drive-by, T30, he shoots me in the face, but I'm alright with that. I put 2 rounds into him. Quickly repair my tracks, because I don't want anything to come up and shoot me behind. Now I'm on a reload. So again, it's time for a ring around the building. But this time, I'm the one being chased. So all the time, my reload time is ticking down. He goes for it. And this is what I mean by that tank not being slow. 30 miles an hour, see you in a bit. Bye-bye. And now I just go and get lost in the town. 8 kills, just under 8,000 damage. And away we go. And the RT, as I said, what an absolute beast. Kills the T30. Now, 2 tier 10 tank destroyers left. I'm in a bit of a loss of what to do. I'm seeing as neither of them been spotted in ages. They could be absolutely anywhere. If I was them, I would have gone up here by now, or maybe into here, and be capping. So I kind of know that that's what they want to do. I also know that there we go. Waffenträger appears on top of the RT and finishes him off. So that's made up my mind for me. Now I need to start capping. Now, I'm okay with that, because if I sit still, I've got a camo net, I've got binoculars. Optics don't stack with binoculars, but aha, here we go. Wait a minute. Slow it down again. Or not, because maybe I don't know. I don't aim at him now. I keep going. I keep checking just to make sure his silhouette doesn't come out yet. And there they go. The cap is ticking down. Right now, there isn't much point in me capping anymore. But at this point, I feel a bit burnt out. Really, I've had to do most of the carrying in this game, and I'm just like, you know. Also, as well, in a waffle like that, Waffenträger is probably going to have a camo net as well, which means that if I drive at the cap and he's sitting still, he will get the first shot into me, and I'm on half health. He will. I mean, I should have tried, but I didn't. But I could have gone back and tried to kill him or reset the cap. He is, however, as you can see, a good player. He's played way more games than I have. He's way more experienced. So I don't expect him to be sitting in a really stupid spot. He will get the opening shot on me. It will take 3 of his hits to kill me. I didn't think I had a chance, so I just kind of went a bit emo and said screw it. What does happen here though is this guy shows up because he knows I'm capping. Just the view range on this thing, by the way, huge. You know, just absolute monstrous. Which is why I was able to see that guy. Here we go. Turns the corner. Finish him off. 8,700 damage and 9 kills, and I do get spotted. That's pretty much the end of that. I just kind of shuffle around a bit on the cap, and yeah, and that's really the end. My only friend, the end. So yeah, good game. I should have gone for it at the end, but I was kind of emoing out at that point. I was like, screw it. You know, I mean, if I can't win a game with 9 kills and 9k damage, then you know, whatever. It's not obviously not meant to be won. But yeah, pretty good game overall. Certainly could have been worse, and I think really demonstrates the differences between using the long sight lines and abusing the view range to your advantage, and then just going hashtag YOLO into the town and obliterating people before they understand what just happened. Yeah, so there we go, and back to the garage. So here we are, post replay, back in the garage. Just wanted to go through a few more things with you guys. I will have a look at my overall stats with this thing. Where are we? 58% win ratio at tier 10 tanks. You struggle to get above 60%. One thing I really wanted to highlight was this: 3,500 average damage per game over 172 games. I feel like this tank, and again, I don't want to blow my own horn, but if you know what you're doing with this tank, it's devastating. But it really, really punishes you hard for making a mistake. And the mistake is getting spotted. Now, getting spotted in certain spots is fine. You can make calculated risks. You can come out from behind a building, and you know you're going to get spotted, but you get off 2.5k damage for the risk of getting spotted. Fine. So and that's what I call spotting on your own terms. Getting spotted on your own terms. If you don't get spotted on your own terms in this thing, if you're sitting somewhere and suddenly the Sixth Sense light bulb goes up and you're not using hard cover, you're behind a bush, my god, that's terrifying, because you're just going to get penned. So if you do slip up, this tank does really punish you hard. Yeah. Back to, is this overpowered or not? The problem that most people have with this tank, and it's completely justified, is that it doesn't matter how good or bad you are. If you load gold and you drive in, even if you just drive in to the dumbest situation in this tank, you've got 2000 health, you've got a gun that spits out 560 damage shells every 2 seconds. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are, before people can kill you, you can still probably get out 2k damage on things. Which really means that, again, it doesn't really matter how good or bad you are, anyone can point and click with 335 pen or however much the APCR has. You can just fire shells at tanks and you're going to do damage. So yeah, and that's that really. So with a little bit of sense and you kind of grapple its playstyle, there's no reason anyone in fact can't get over 2k damage per game in this tank. Yeah, and that's that really. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Big shout out to Vaporlock, and he knows why. And really, I was really overwhelmed with all the support that you guys have given me back on forums and on the comments. It's really heartwarming. So thanks a lot for your support. It means a lot. The next one I put up will probably be, might do something on the gun carriage, or I don't know. We'll see. Gun carriage maybe the E5. Maybe some lower tier stuff, we'll see. It will be up in a couple of days or maybe even tomorrow. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Take care.